Yo, what's cracking, everyone? This is your man Politic the King with Politic TV, and today I just wanted to talk about Get Out. It's a new movie by I think it's Jordan Peele from Key and Peele. And one thing I just want to say before I get into this video is that, man, he just made $100 million, I think, in his first week of the movie. And I think that's a record for any black director. So, bravo to him, man. Big ups to Jordan Peele, man. I did watch Key and Peele. They were pretty funny. But you can tell that these brothers are a little bit different. And they sort of, I think I'm going to address some of this in this video. But I relate to them because, there's a black that society has put out. And then there's a black that people are, you know what I'm saying? I mean, as a person of color or whatever you want to call me there, sometimes people put you in this box and they think you listen to rap music and you can't listen to rock and roll and you can't be a conservative or a Republican. You couldn't vote for Trump, right? I don't even want to talk about that one. But, they sort of talk about that and address that. And they do it in a very creative way and in a way that I think is sobering to a lot of people. But anyway, so Get Out made $100 million. And just recently, there was a news article where it says Samuel Jackson pretty much said that the lead actor in the movie, which it seems like it's going to be a great movie, I'm actually going to go see it tonight, but he said the lead actor in the movie wasn't black enough, pretty much. I mean, and what does that mean? You're not black enough. I mean, the funny thing for me is that, this is Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson has been Shaft. Samuel Jackson dude in Pulp Fiction. Samuel Jackson has been in a lot of other black movies and all this other stuff. And when Samuel Jackson says you ain't black enough, you really got to consider your blackness and say to yourself, this is Samuel Jackson. This is the guy that might epitomize blackness sometimes in society. Even though that's not true, but it's just, Samuel Jackson has just been such a big actor. So when he says something, you're going to listen to it anyway. But, it's just like, when Samuel Jackson say you ain't black, it might be a problem. Anyway, so there was an article, and I'm going to just pull this up on my phone real quick. Because I think it was really interesting. I do want to sort of talk about this subject. But the actor's name is Daniel Kaluuya. And it looks like he's Ugandan. So big ups to him. For one, I think he probably did a great job in this film. By me watching the trailer, looks like he did a really good job acting. And everybody in the film actually just did a really good job acting. This whole, plot of, black guy dates a white woman, goes to meet her parents, and the parents are brainwashing people. And it sort of talks about racism and in a satire and comical way, but in a very serious way too. Because I think a lot of the issue that this movie is going to talk about that some quote-unquote black people deal with. He's Ugandan. I actually know some people from Uganda, and actually a pastor out in Uganda. Really good guy. And, they're going through different things in Uganda. They actually did a ban recently on, I think it was like anything gay, you can get locked up. So actually the U.S. has been sanctioning them because of that or whatever, and they haven't been able to get stuff. Because when I tried to send this pastor stuff, it was like an arm and a leg for me to even get it out there, and it wasn't even guaranteed that it would get to him. So, but that was the Obama administration, and they sort of pushed that. But anyway, so the guy is British, and he obviously he immigrated from Uganda to the UK with his parents at a young age or whatever, and pretty much Samuel Jackson said he ain't black enough. So what he said is that when he comes to America, he sounds British. When he goes to India, he's black. When he goes to this place, it's this thing. There's always some type of an issue. He doesn't speak Ugandan, so when he goes back to Uganda, they criticize him there, and it's just like he's like, why do I have to prove I'm black? Why isn't just my color enough? Why isn't just what I look like enough? Why do I have to prove I'm black? And I think that's a very, very good point. And not only is it a very, very good point, it's actually, I think, sort of what this movie talks about. Jordan Peele, if that's his name, I don't know if I got that correct. He is married to a white woman. And the thing was, I think there was an article that my wife had told me about that was saying that he would try to date black chicks, but they wouldn't like him because he likes rock and roll. And he's not a stereotypical black person. He likes different things. He's branched out. You know, me myself, I like Metallica. I like Journey. If a Journey song comes on, it's like when, I don't know, Usher comes on in a club or something like that. You know, it's just like, that's my jam. You know what I'm saying? You know, I covered you in roses. That's my joint. You know what I'm saying? When you know, when Journey comes on, and you know, the lead singer, I forgot his name, but man, you know, I just love Journey. So what does it mean to be black in America? What does that mean? You know, people have come up to me, you know, and I'm really just a talkative, cool person anyway. But people come up to me and say, "Oh, you must listen to Little Yachi, a little this," and I'm just like, no, I don't like Little Yachi, you know, Dirk, or a Little Yachi, a little this, a little that, or whatever. Like, you know, if I like hip hop, I like the old school, and I like people that are lyrical. That's sort of the age that I grew up in, where rap battles were big and stuff like that. So it was about being technical and lyrical and intelligent. It wasn't about this commercial stuff that people put out that's garbage or whatever. So, you know, but just because I'm black, they associate with me with these artists because that's what they see about black people. And it goes a lot into the perception of what people think black people are. You know, it's like one of those things, like there was actually something talking about abortion not too long ago. And it says when you can dehumanize the embryo and say that it's not human, right, then you can justify killing it, right? So people in their mind are saying, oh, that's not a baby. That's not a human being. But you know what? We all started off as embryos. So the biggest thing is that if you can dehumanize the embryo, you can convince people to say, oh, it's okay to get rid of it because it's not really human. And it's sort of the same thing with black people. If you say, oh, black people are drug dealers and they listen to rap music that's derogatory and they're all like this, right? Then you can justify when somebody gets shot, or when somebody gets killed, or when there's a father that is killed because of police brutality, and you know, boom, all of that. So it's really an interesting thing that Samuel Jackson say that he's not black enough just because he's British. For one, I don't believe all black people are the same or whatever. For one, if you just go to Africa by itself, there are so many different languages and tribes that we are not all one united people. You can't just label me an African and not give me a country in Africa that I belong to or whatever. Of course, I believe that some of the black people in America have descendants from Israel, and I keep that faith as far as a Judaism and a Christian faith, because I believe in Christ, but I also believe in the law, commandments, Passover, etc. So that's where I get my heritage from, is from Israel. I know there are traces and bits of African ancestry in that too. But, you know, just because, you know, people in America label me black, they generalize me into this category that I don't really fit in, you know? I like other music. I like being intelligent. I like talking about things. I voted for Trump, right? I mean, I voted for Trump, man, and I tell you that my aunt, you know, unfriended me. She got mad at me, and she was a pastor, and she was trying to convince me that Hillary Clinton would have been a better option. And Hillary Clinton believes in abortion and believes in, you know, LGBT this and all this stuff, and silence in the church, and Bernie Sanders too. And it's just because, you know, okay, the history of this country, there was a lot of racism and there was a lot of bad things that happened, and I'm not denying that, all right? But I will say that we are in a better time, and that I grew up without a lot of things my ancestors have gone through or whatever. But even when my ancestors was going through that, you had people like Martin Luther King, you had people like Malcolm X, you had people like Huey P. Newton, you had people that were militant but also intelligent, and they were able to get their point across, sometimes violently, sometimes not violently. But you had thinkers, even Frederick Douglass, you know. That's when I look at blackness, that's what I think about. I think about black consciousness and black self-awareness, and saying to yourself, well, we live in America and we're American citizens and we deserve rights, but we are not American as far as our heritage, as far as where we're from or whatever. And for me to progress in society in America, speak English, whatever else it is like that. I'm trying to progress just as much as anybody else. I want a degree just as much as anybody else. I want a good job just as much as anybody else. I want to raise my family with decent values and morals just like everybody else, whatever. I am no different than anyone else, and just because of my color doesn't make me a stereotypical black, Negro or Nigga, that people want to put me in. And I think it's the same thing, just because this brother is from Britain doesn't make him any less black. Black is just too broad of a label. He's actually Ugandan or whatever, and he can act. Obviously, he can speak English. He is an actor, so he is portraying a thing. Logan just came out recently. I saw Logan. It was a great movie. Go see it. But the reality is that Hugh Jackman is Australian, right? Which is sort of a European, the Australian people came from Europe, somewhere in Europe, and they took over Australia, which is the real Australians are black people, pretty much. But Hugh Jackman, sort of, even though Wolverine was like Canadian or something, or I don't know, maybe he's not Canadian, maybe he was American or something. But, Hugh Jackman is an Australian actor that went and played pretty much a Canadian person. And nobody's mad about that. You know what I'm saying? Or, I see it like this, like James Bond, right? If you have James Bond and you say to yourself, James Bond is British. And let's say Vin Diesel plays James Bond. Now, I think people are going to flip out about that because Vin Diesel is American and James Bond is a character that has to do with Britain and everything else like that, and is British. So how can an American play a British person? Now, that's sort of, I think, the issue that Samuel Jackson was talking about when he talked about, they should have picked an American black guy to play this role. But I don't think it matters that much. I mean, if you can replicate a British accent and play 007, yes, it may not be authentic, but you know what? If you're a good actor, you can do a really great job or whatever. And you actually see a lot of British actors come to America and play superheroes and all types of stuff too. But I mean, and then it's just like, if I was an American black dude and I did a movie talking about racism and British, yeah, there might be a disconnect, but but it's called acting. And I think this guy, obviously with $100 million in his first week, this lead actor that had led this role, obviously did a good job. So I don't think the criticism is there, and I don't think people need to generalize black people in certain categories because I don't like being generalized either. I deal with generalization. I understand the hood and everything, and I did grow up in some rough areas, but I also grew up in some real prestigious areas in my life. And the thing is that I understand the hood and everything else like that, but just because that was my upbringing and everything else like that doesn't make me like every other black person that loves, hip hop and chicken and watermelon and whatever people want to generalize black people as. You have to take me as an individual. We're in an age that, again, you got to take me as an individual, and my philosophy is going to be different from any other black person that's out there or whatever. Now, whether I understand them or not, you want to take people at face value for who they are. And I think in 2017, after all we've been through in this country, that it's about time for people just to get to know people and have conversations with people and ask people what they like instead of generalizing them into a certain category. It's just like me, and I live in Oklahoma and I've lived in Georgia too, but every redneck isn't a racist. You know what I'm saying? Every what you call a redneck is not a racist person. Not every black person is a thug or a gangster, even though they might dress urban or whatever. And not every white guy that dresses urban is a thug and a gangster. But honestly, I met a lot of white dudes, and if they dress urban, they usually gangster. I be trying to walk across the street and go to the other side. But not everybody is like what you think they are. And I think we have to have more intelligent conversations in the future. And I think this is what the premise for my channel is sort of about, or whatever. You know, I did a video on Phil Robertson not being racist, and I defended him because he just gave his position about life or whatever from his perspective of a white man. And I don't think people should have bashed him because of that. You know, it was the media and everything else like that. But people like to see that because they see a black guy defending a white dude about white people stuff, about things that white people go through. And again, you have to take people at face value. I can't just assume Phil Robertson's a racist just because he talks about his experience with black people working in the field or whatever. You know, it's too broad of a subject to have, and I could really talk more about this subject about how people generalize people. But you know, I think I've said everything that I've needed to say. So pretty much I want to say big ups to Jordan Peele for having a $100 million video, being one of the first black people to do it or whatever. I want to give a shout out to Daniel Kaluuya. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Kaluuya. You know, for doing an excellent job in this movie that I'm gonna see tonight. And I might do a follow-up video just telling you how I like the video and talking about some of the subject matter from the movie and everything else like that, which is Get Out. It's in theaters now. Go check it out. But you know, the Samuel L. Jackson, you know, I also understand his perspective is that, you know, he felt like a black American actor can embody the role better. And maybe he's seen the movie and there's something that he's seen that I haven't. But the reality is, man, is that our people have been scattered all across the earth. And I have my different perspective on that. You know, I believe some of these people are children of Israel, and that children of Israel are going to be scattered across the earth. But just in general, you know, I guess what people see you as is not for what you are, which is this guy was Ugandan. They see him as black. And I guess we got to start redefining what black and white and Asian or yellow or red is. You know, we're all human beings, you know, and we're all different people. This brother is Ugandan. You know what I'm saying? If you really want to call him something, he's Ugandan or whatever. That doesn't make him the same as me or whatever when you see him or whatever. But again, people will generalize and people put people in a box and put people in a category, and they think that it's okay. So maybe we need to talk about categories and labels and names that we have for people. You know what I'm saying? I like saying European people. Some people look at me strange when I say European people, but that's where you're from. That's where you came from. You came from Europe. You know what I'm saying? You say you're American, but as far as the Americans I know, they go, you know, whoa, they speak languages. They have powwows. Those are the Native Americans that I know. So when people even say American, I look at them strange, like, you know. But again, people have accepted the label. People have accepted that as a reality. So, and the reality is that we're all human beings. And again, you know, when one people go against another people, you know, they try to get power and fame. So they generalize people, put people in a box, and it makes it easier for them to oppress people. Instead of just saying, this is my brother, this is my sister, this is a human being. So anyway, I didn't mean for this video to be too long. And actually, my cousin is calling me right now. So I'm going to answer this call, and we're going to talk about this movie actually some more because I was talking about it with him. So this is your man, Politic the King. I do appreciate you guys watching. Please sub the channel. I am out. Take it easy, and may God bless your day. Bye.